go to Decimals real quick and just kind of just see like if you guys got this. So y to the 4x power is what? What happens with that? Again, it's a little bit just sharper than y equals 2 to the x power, right? Why would it be sharper? Why would it go faster, right? Because again, you're going into the base of 4. Imagine quadrupling something instead of doubling something, how much faster you would go, okay? Right, and so, and again, you don't see it here, but look how exponentially it just goes up like look, it just shoots up that much faster, you know, kind of thing. And so it's a little crazy, but yeah, right. Okay, so now what would happen? It was 4 to the x power, right? And then an x minus 2, right? So x minus 2, just shift what? 2 to the right, correct? Or the plus 2? Okay. So then it would have been minus 2. Or it would have been, sorry, to the left then. Dylan? All right. What happens when you have y equals negative 4 to the x power? It reflects over the x-axis. Good job. Okay, so just be mindful of that. Okay, there's a trend with this. All right. And then what happens when you have y equals 4 to the negative x power? It reflects over the y-axis. Okay, so you see all that? Okay. Any questions? So when you guys graph these, by the way, what I want to see is the parent function of y equals base and an x. And after that, you don't have to be that accurate. Just kind of just graph, just give me the shifts, reflection. You guys should be okay. All right. Cool. All right. Let's go just real quickly. I'm going to mention this right now. Let's go over rational expressions real quick. The rational expressions, what they were what? I'm going to delete all these actually. Let's just say it's 1 over x. I should have done it last section, but I didn't. What happens here? Oops. What happens here, right? This is the basic rational expression, right? Y-axis is the intercept. Oh, sorry, asymptote. X-axis is asymptote. What happens when, how do you think I shift to the right? You 1 over what? X minus whatever, like 6, right? So why is the same color? Okay, so you see that, right? So on the rational expressions, what happens is if it's in the fraction, it's shifted to the right 6 times. Okay, if it's a plus 6, it's what? It's going to go to the left. Okay, what if I did this where it's y equals 1 over x, and then what? Plus 5. Look what happens. It goes up 5, right? Okay, so just kind of be mindful of these shifts. By the way, again, like as a teaching tool, this is amazing. I know it's like, oh, Chase, this decimal is good. But when I was doing this, we had to, when we're in school, we had to literally like graph every little thing out, like in tables. And then it's like, oh, what do we find out? Like the graphing calculator like this just kind of tells you right away, oh, this is the shift. This is what I have to do. And you guys can summarize from there. Okay, all right. What about a horizontal or a vertical stretch? Let's say a vertical stretch by 2. You're pretty much, if you just go 2 in front, right? Let me put another. I hate the fact that they're using the same color here. Y equals 2 and then 1 over x. Okay, so the 2 in front. So the 2 in front, okay, tells you what? That it's a vertical stretch by 2. You could also write it like this, though, right? How else can you write this? You could multiply the 2 and the 1 over x, right? So if you write 1 equals 2 over x, it's the same thing. Okay, so just be wary, or just be aware of what? The 2, that number on top is also, it can also be the vertical stretch or straight. Okay, because it's already multiplied, it's already implied that 2 times the 1 is already multiplied it. Okay, so you see how I put it in different forms? The green form is I put the 2 in front. What if they multiply 2 and 1 over x? Now 2 over x is the same thing, right? So you have to be aware of the vertical stretch on that. Okay, does that make sense? Any questions on that? Are we good? Okay, what about the shrink? How do we go about the shrink? Yeah, you just put it on the bottom, right? This would be this. Okay. So the shrink would be the 2, it'd be shrink by 1/2. You'd have to put the 2 in front of the x on the bottom. So the quote unquote inside portion is the denominator for rational expressions. Okay. You guys should have seen a few problems on these with your homework. By the way, you were able to shift up and down, right? I think there was a few. So just kind of be aware of how that's going. Okay. Cool. This will be a quick. I'm going to put a few questions on this, and this will be more of a daily check thing than a knowledge check thing. Okay, so I'm not going to really put this on a knowledge check. I'm going to put this on a daily check sooner or later, and I'll just have you guys like do it real quick. All right, cool. Just the rational expressions part, the graphing exponents part, that will be part of the knowledge check. That will be part of the big thing. All right. Any questions? Good. All right. Last thing, and I'll end with this. I want to go over compound interest on your on money. Okay, so let's get to this part right here. Let's get to the slide. This is on where am I? No. Okay. Here we go. All right, and this is so, I would say this is the most important math lesson of your life here. Okay. All right. I will tell you that. I think it is, at least, you know, because I understand. If you understand this, you will understand like how credit cards work, how interest it works, and all that stuff. Okay. So kind of give you an economic lesson, and I'm a big econ guy. Like I like to study econ. I like the supply demand, all that. I don't know the formulas, I forgot all that, but I just the practical econ that is in my mind. I like. I actually listen to a lot of podcasts on econ and what's going to happen, what's going to happen. People are always predicting the end of the world, all that stuff. But all right, this is big. All right. I don't know if you guys have watched the news, but there's a big deal on. You guys know what the Fed is? The Fed. They call it the Fed. Yeah, and do you guys know who the president is of that? Not Warren Buffett. A guy named Jerome Powell. Okay, all right. And so during 2020, okay, Warren Buffett is a big guy, but during 2020, everybody got scared because of what? COVID, right? And so what did America do? The economy stopped. They printed all this money, okay, right? Just because they knew that it was going to be a tough time for everybody. It was nothing like we didn't know what was going to happen. So then they doubled down on printing money. Why did they print money? So that everybody could have money, so that everybody could make a living, kind of thing, right? It was that was the whole concept. It had good intentions. Okay, so whenever you see like politicians like blame inflation and all that stuff, it had good intentions, right? We didn't know what was going to happen, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, right? At the time Trump was in office, you know, he gave everybody a stimulus, right? I don't know if you guys have heard of that word, stimulus, where they stimulate the economy, where they're giving everybody a few $1,000s so that they can kind of, you know, hey, it'll help everybody out. Okay, all right. So does that make sense? So they're printing out money. They're printing money. Okay. Well, what happens when you print money? Inflation. You guys, what's inflation? The value of dollar goes down. So like your normal pizza now costs like $10 instead of $5. Your gas, instead of $1, it costs $4, $5, $6, so on and so forth. Your houses used to cost $100,000. Now what? It costs $1 million, you know, kind of thing. So what they're doing is pretty much, and people say this all the time, they're borrowing from the future. Pretty much is you guys are pretty much going to be the ones who are going to kind of eat it a little bit, where everybody's just borrowing, we're all borrowing, and we're just waiting for the future. Sooner or later, the future generation is going to have to pay that back. Okay, and it's going to be rough. Okay, it's going to be rough. All right. And so, but what ends up happening though with lower interest, when you have, what's interest, by the way? Yeah, they charge you money for borrowing, but the whole American economy is based on interest alone. Okay, like or on borrowing money. Everybody borrows money like crazy. I don't know if you knew that. Like people say debt is dumb. At the same time, most rich people don't really have that much money. They're just in a lot of debt because they're using their debt for other assets. They buy houses so they get rental income, right? They buy like oil rigs. They buy different things so that they can get money back in return. Okay, so the cheaper you make interest, right? The lower the interest, the more people can borrow. Correct, right? Because there's less money. I'm not sorry. The dollar doesn't cost as much, so it's like people can buy. That's why like housing prices went up, all that good stuff. Now the Fed is, because inflation is so high, the Fed is raising interest rates so that money can have more value. So they're trying to bring inflation down. Okay, all right. And so right now, like your typical, like if you refinance your home mortgage, it was like 2 or 3%. Now that same mortgage is like at 5 or 6%. That's almost $1,000 a month more that you're paying. Okay, so just be aware of all that stuff. Okay, so this is how your mortgage works. Let's say you borrow $500,000. Okay, so you borrow $500,000, and then let's just say you have like a 3% interest rate. This is how all this stuff works. Okay, this is how this is how your interest will be calculated. All right, so let's look at this right here. All right, write this formula down. A is equal to P, and then 1 plus R over N to the NT power. I'll explain what each of these things are. All to say, though, is I think like for you guys, and just if I could give you life advice, is like for me, I think I'm the last generation where I could probably stick to one career and like I'll be okay. But you guys need to have like multiple different things going on in your life, kind of thing. Like you have to have like a lot of side gigs going. Like it's already happened, like side hustles. All right. So you may want to grab and just instead of degrees, I mean, degrees are important. I'm not saying like college degrees are important, but if I were you, I would grab like 4 or 5 skills, you know, so that you can kind of market yourself and you can kind of like, let's just say, you know how to fix an air conditioner, you know how to, do some plumbing, you know how to do video editing, you know how to do, just a lot of different skills, and that stuff will add up, and then you'll have a base job, but like, so for a teacher, I'm kind of lucky because I have a base job, like this is my teaching job, but then I can kind of do my hobbies too. Like I have my summers and I have my weekends, my holidays to kind of do whatever I want. And that's why part of the reason why I coach volleyball is because that's my hobby. That's what I like to do. And so, but my teaching job kind of covers my expenses, and volleyball kind of gives me my like things I like to do. Kind of thing. Not that I don't like teaching math, but I like teaching math, but I mean, this is one that pays the bills kind of thing. But the volleyball kind of helps me with like this is what I like to do. This is what I enjoy, so on and so forth. All right. Okay. So principal is the A is the amount. By the way, the big A is the amount. The big P is the principal, and we'll talk about that. The N, or so R is the rate. Okay, the N is the number of times per year, compounded, as I would say. Number of times compounded. And I'll talk about that later on, annually. All right, and then the T is time in years. Okay. Let's just right now, don't worry about continuous. Let's just focus on A and B. Let's talk about quarterly and monthly here. Okay. All right. So a total of $12,000 is invested. I know maybe some of your parents have like, a bond account or whatever, they have some sort of account for you. $12,000 is invested in an annual interest rate of 9%. Find the balance after 5 years if it is compounded quarterly and monthly. All right, let's focus on that. Okay, so if I gave my child, let's say for college fund, I have $12,000. I'm putting it in an account that hits 9% interest rate. After 5 years, let's see how much money we make. Okay, so here we go. We have A is the amount, right? P is the 12,000. 1 plus, what's R? The rate, which is what? 9%. How do we put 9% in a decimal? 0.09, 0.09 over, if it's quarterly per year, how many times a year is that? 4 times, right? 4 quarters, right? Okay, right, so you divide that by 4, so 0.09 divided by 4, and then what? N is 4. What's T? 5, so after 5 years. So practical. Okay. All right. So now this equals what? 12,000. And then can you guys get your calculators out? Put 0.09 divided by 4 and add that to 1. So it is 9 divided by, sorry, 0.09 divided by 4 is so 0.09 divided by 4 is 0.0225. You guys get that? Okay, and then add that to, so 1 plus 0.0225 to the 20th power, right? So then add, so you're pretty much multiplying this out, 12,000, and then what? 1.0225 to the 20th power. Okay, so what do you do first? Yeah, 1.0225 to the 20th power. So let's add that, or let's do that. What'd you guys get? The final answer. Oh, not the final answer. Just get what's 1.0225 to the 20th power?
18,007 to the 20th power, right?
Yeah, so it should be 1.0225 to the 20th power. 1.56. So it's going to be 12,000 times 1.56. All right. So multiply that out. What'd you guys get? Someone said 18,000.
18,726.
So A is equal to 18,726.
And then there's like decimals out there.
11 cents. Okay. Isn't that nice? You have $12,000. Just say $6,000 just pops up out of nowhere. $6,700 pops out of nowhere. You just have to leave it in somewhere. Okay. All right. And this is a thing called passive income. Okay, so this is something that you want to maybe think about a little bit is, like how do you get passive? Where are ways of getting passive income? Okay, there's a lot of ways to get passive income, but that's how people are rich. Okay, it's because they have their money working for them. So in the beginning, it's going to be a rat race where you're working, right? But eventually, you want to get to the point where money is coming back to you, right? And you're not having to work at all. That's the whole game that you're trying to play. Okay, so you want to rent some apartments, you want to rent some homes, so that you get passive income, because rent is just, hey, you're not doing anything to get that money, right? You're just receiving that money and it's like, hey, this is pretty nice kind of thing, right? So again, it's easier said than done. It's easier said than actually doing it, but yeah.
The interest rate, the bank is paying.
It depends on what you invest in, right? So there are like bond accounts, there's stocks that you could get, stuff, so on and so forth, that some will guarantee, some won't, so on and so forth. So, and then like if you work at a company, there are places where they will give you that, that, hey, we'll give you 9% on your account. Just invest, your 401k or something like that, So again, there's a lot of different products out there that you have to just research, and you'll be okay. Okay. Again, it's not easy though. This stuff looks very glorious and, like, oh wow, I don't have to do, but It takes a while, and it's risk, it can be risky too, you know, so like people can get in a lot of trouble with it. So, there's that. Okay. All right, so now let's go monthly. What's the only difference between this and monthly? Quarterly and monthly? Yeah, so instead of dividing it 4 times, we are doing it 12 times. Okay, and let's see the difference. I don't think there's gonna be that much of a difference. So it's pretty much, it depends on when you get paid out. When does the interest come every month? Okay, so let's go 12,000. Oh, sorry, 0.09 divided by 12. That's 0.0075, right? Add that to 1. That's 1. So this is going to be 12,000. 1.0075 to the what? 60th power. Okay. Once you guys do that, what's 1.0075 to the 60th power? That is 1.56, very similar to what you did before. And then multiply that by 12,000. Getting slightly more. A is equal to $18,788. So you're getting what? The 26. Like 12 bucks more, right? It was 18,776 here, right? But even if you get 26, it's not like it's that much more, you know, like it's not that much of a difference. So whether you're getting compounded monthly, annually, it really doesn't make too much. So when you guys, by the way, when you guys take the test, all these numbers should be around each other. Like you can't get like 18,000 and then like 50,000 on one, you know, and then like, so it should be around each other, So that's why this thing called continuous happens. Why A is equal to PE RT, and I'll explain what this is right here. Okay, this is continuous. All right. Yes.
So when we do this on the test, will we have this written on the board, or do we have to memorize?
I'll give you the formula. Yeah, I'll give you the formula.
Thank you.
You just have to know how to use it, but yeah, I'll give you the formula. Yeah.
Isn't it on both of them?
Yes. It should be the E.
Yeah.
All right. So E is this number that someone came up with as a genius, right? The genius number kind of thing where, you know, like you notice that even if I compound it 4 times, or if I compound it 12 times, if I compound it 1,000 times, it really doesn't matter how much you compound it because it hits like a certain point. So the E accounts for that. Like there's like a limit to how far you can go up. All right. So E is an actual number. It's called it's a natural logarithm. All right. And we'll talk about this more again later on. But for the purposes of this, we want to use the E button. It's an actual number. I think it's like 2.71 or something like that. It dot. So let's use this right here. A is equal to 12,000 is the principal. E, and then the exponent is going to be 0.09 to the 5th power. So E is on your calculator. It's right above that, this button called LN. Okay, you guys should see that on your calculator. Okay, all right. So if you guys write that, so it should be second E right here, second E. I don't know if you guys probably can't see it, but just trust me. And then 0.09 times 5. Get that. So I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be, so this portion right here, if you put it on the calculator, it's about 1.56 again. And then you're multiplying that by 12,000. So A is equal to 18,819. So let's just say if it was compounded quarterly, if it's compounded monthly, just compounded just every day, like constantly, every hour. It doesn't really matter when it's compounded, all right, when you're given that interest, all right? It could be every day, it doesn't really matter that much. Just know that it's around 18,000. What? So that you get an extra, what, $40 on this-ish from the quarterly, so again, it's not too much of a thing. Okay? All right. Any questions or? Yeah, good life lessons, seriously, like, this is something I hope that you guys all like get to a certain point, like if you have,